Good morning, everyone. I'm excited to welcome you to today's presentation. Today, we'll be exploring a fascinating topic, a question of trust, deception, and intrigue. We'll delve into how trust shapes our perceptions, the ways deception plays a role in our lives, and uncover some intriguing examples along the way. So let's get started. Let's delve into some of the key themes that run through this story: trust, deception, and the contrast between appearance and reality. These elements are essential to understanding the twists and turns we'll explore. First, there's an unexpected encounter: the woman in red. This moment immediately grabs your attention because it introduces a mysterious figure whose true intentions are not immediately clear. It sets the stage for themes of deception and the importance of perception. Next, we see imprisonment and bitter realization. This reminds us how trust can be shattered, often leading to painful truths that are hard to accept. It highlights how appearances can be deceiving and how reality often reveals itself in unexpected ways. Then we have the target, Shotover Grange. This is the focal point of the story, a place that symbolizes both security and vulnerability, an ideal setting for the unfolding drama of trust betrayed. We also encounter the irony of justice, a question of trust. Justice isn't always straightforward. Sometimes it depends on whom you trust and how much. This irony adds depth to our understanding of what's fair and what's not. Following that, the unraveling, a betrayal of trust, shows us how trust, once broken, can lead to chaos and unforeseen consequences. It emphasizes how fragile trust really is. Moving on, a peculiar passion, rare books and the annual heist, reveals that characters can have unusual obsessions, which are often exploited during criminal plots. It's a reminder that appearances of normalcy can hide something more complex. Lastly, the deception unfolds, a masterful trick, and introducing Horace Danby, the gentleman thief, bring everything together. Here, we see how clever deception can be and how a charming exterior might conceal a criminal mind. All these points tie back to our overarching theme: how trust and deception shape the narrative, often blurring the line between appearance and reality in surprising ways. He had a methodical approach, always planning his thefts with precision and intelligence, believing himself to be beyond reproach. However, beneath this veneer of respectability lay a carefully guarded secret. Horace was a thief, but one with a peculiar motive. He orchestrated one major burglary every year, not for lavish living, but to fuel his deep-seated passion for rare and expensive books. Horace Danby, a 50-year-old bachelor, presented himself as a highly respectable and successful locksmith. His business thrived, and he employed 2 assistants, projecting an image of integrity and professionalism to the world. And that's why he's known as the gentleman thief, a man who carefully balances his outward respectability with his secret, passion-driven life. Horace believed that his methods were relatively harmless. He never resorted to violence and only stole from wealthy individuals who, in his mind, could easily afford the loss. This self-justification allowed him to reconcile his criminal acts with his otherwise upright persona. No harm, no foul, that's what he thought. Unlike common criminals, Horace limited his illicit activities to a single, well-executed burglary per year. This strategy minimized his risk and helped him maintain his respectable facade most of the time, making him an elusive target for law enforcement. His one job a year kept him under the radar. Now, what truly drove Horace was his passion for rare books. These exquisite volumes, often costing a fortune, were the main reason behind his annual criminal enterprise. He meticulously planned each theft to ensure he had enough funds to add to his treasured collection. His obsession with these rare books was more than just a hobby. It was a way for him to indulge in something he loved deeply, even if it meant breaking the law once a year. His planning was flawless, covering every contingency. He even made sure to disable the alarm and knew the precise time the last servant would leave, giving him ample time to execute his plan without interruption. Horace set his sights on Shotover Grange, a grand country house whose owners were away on holiday. He had spent weeks, if not months, meticulously studying every detail of the estate, its layout, the daily routines of the servants, the wiring of the alarm system, and the location of the safe. He knew the house intimately, almost as if he lived there himself. In this part of the story, she explains that she had forgotten her jewels and needed them for a party, but she had misplaced the safe's combination. She skillfully manipulates Horace, playing on his gentlemanly instincts and appealing to his desire to avoid confrontation. She suggests that he open the safe for her, knowing that this might lead him to do what she wants. As Horace carefully works on opening the safe, a sudden, elegant figure appears from the shadows, a young, beautiful woman dressed in red. She exudes sophistication and confidence, claiming to be the lady of the house. Her calm demeanor and confident tone instantly disarm Horace, making him doubt his carefully laid plans. This encounter adds a surprising twist to the story, highlighting how appearances and confidence can influence even the most meticulous plans. It also ties into our overall theme of deception and manipulation, showing how different characters use their wits and charm to achieve their goals. So, here we see Horace believing he was actually helping the owner, and in doing so, he thought he was securing his own escape. He opened the safe willingly, which might seem like he was cooperating, but in reality, he left his fingerprints all over the scene. This was a crucial mistake. He even handed over the jewels, thinking he had outsmarted the situation or navigated it cleverly. But what he didn't realize is that his compliance and actions were part of a larger deception. This slide highlights how the deception was a masterful trick, a carefully planned move that ultimately unraveled his intentions. It's a perfect example of how appearances can be deceiving, and how even seemingly helpful actions can lead to exposure when you're not aware of the full picture. In this part of the story, she cleverly pretended not to remember the safe's combination. By doing so, she convinced Horace that opening it would help her avoid a scandal. Horace, always eager to steer clear of trouble, saw this as his best and safest way out of the situation. This moment highlights how persuasive she was and how Horace's desire to avoid complications made him more likely to go along with her plan. It's a great example of how people sometimes use charm and strategic thinking to influence others, especially when they want to hide something or prevent a problem. Throughout the overall story, this scene emphasizes the themes of deception and strategy in navigating difficult circumstances. Now, on this slide, I want to highlight how the woman skillfully portrayed a distressed homeowner. She managed to make Horace truly believe that she was genuinely in need of help. Her ability to stay calm and composed, even when catching a burglar, really showcased her acting prowess. This demonstrates how powerful and convincing a well-executed performance can be, especially when it's used strategically in situations like this. It's a great example of how understanding human behavior and acting skills can be applied effectively, which ties back to our overall theme of persuasion and influence. A couple of days later, the real mistress of Shotover Grange, an elderly woman, came back and reported that her jewels had been stolen. When the police arrived and investigated the scene, they quickly found Horace's fingerprints on the safe, which was a clear sign of his involvement. Interestingly, the woman Horace had thought was the lady of the house was actually another thief, someone much more skilled at deception. This revelation changed everything about how we viewed the situation. Horace left Shotover Grange feeling a mix of relief and triumph, convinced that he had outsmarted what could have been a disaster. He went back to his usual routine, eagerly looking forward to buying new books and treasures. But, as we see, that sense of security was only temporary. This part of the story really highlights how trust can be betrayed unexpectedly and how appearances can deceive. It ties into our overall theme of how deception and misdirection play crucial roles in this mystery. In the prison library, I often found myself thinking about that clever, charming woman who had so easily tricked me. That thought burned inside me, especially when I overheard fellow inmates talking about honor among thieves. It was a harsh lesson. I learned about the dangers of misplaced trust and just how sophisticated deception can be, even within the criminal underworld. My arrest marked the end of my criminal career, and it was quite ironic. The evidence was overwhelming. My fingerprints were found everywhere at Shotover Grange. This starkly contradicted the woman's claim that she had no knowledge of a professional safe breaker. As a result, I was sentenced to prison, and there, my facade of respectability completely crumbled. On this slide, we see how trust can be both a powerful tool and a potential vulnerability. Horace, in this story, trusted the woman's portrayal of herself, which led him to fall victim to her elaborate scheme. This highlights a crucial point. Trust is not always straightforward or safe, especially when it's based on appearances. The narrative really challenges us to think about whether trust should be considered innate, or if it's something that can be exploited, particularly by those operating outside the law. It makes us question how much we should rely on appearances and first impressions, and reminds us that deception can often hide behind a facade of trustworthiness. Ultimately, this story underscores the complex relationship between trust, deception, and the difference between how things seem and how they truly are. It's a reminder to stay alert and discerning, even when trust seems natural. Now, on this slide, we see that both Horace and the woman used deception, but in different ways. Horace worked hard to maintain a respectable public image, which helped hide his criminal activities from those around him. Meanwhile, the woman relied on her charm and wit to impersonate the homeowner, effectively deceiving others through personal interaction. What this story really highlights is that deception can take many forms and can come from unexpected sources. It reminds us that appearances can be deceiving, and that people often have hidden motives or secrets. This ties back to our overall theme, how deception influences our perceptions and the importance of being aware of the different ways it can manifest. A central theme in this story is the stark contrast between appearance and reality. At first glance, Horace seemed like an honest businessman, someone you could trust. But in truth, he was a thief hiding behind that facade. Similarly, the woman appeared to be a helpless victim, someone who needed protection. However, she was actually a professional swindler, skilled at deception. This story really reminds us not to judge a book by its cover. Just because someone looks a certain way or behaves a certain way on the surface doesn't mean that's who they truly are. It ties back to the overall theme of our presentation, which is about understanding the deeper truth beneath the surface. Always look beyond appearances to see what's really going on. The story we've explored serves as a timeless reminder to be cautious about who we trust. It shows us that deception can often come from the most unexpected sources, and that no one, not even someone with a criminal background, is completely immune to being tricked. Victor Canning. A Question of Trust leaves us with a powerful moral about human nature and the impact our choices can have. Horace Danby's story is a perfect example of this cautionary lesson. It highlights that even those who plan elaborate schemes can sometimes be outsmarted by a smarter, more cunning person. This reminds us that appearances can be deceiving. What looks trustworthy on the surface might hide something entirely different. And it emphasizes a universal truth. Sometimes, the most dangerous lies are wrapped in the most charming smiles. In the end, this story ties back to our overall theme: trust, deception, and the importance of being vigilant in a world where not everything is as it seems.